ever there before? Who looked into your eyes before?
It's feeling a bit personal.
It's getting a bit personal.
I've reflected on the things that I did wrong and I know why I did them wrong, and I'm not like that anymore. Is it that I don't deserve a chance at love again? Or a chance at happiness again? Assalamu alaikum guys, what's going on? My name's Sufyan.
My name's Amara.
We are the exes, and today we are going to be speaking about whether or not we should be telling each other about our past.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
If we have one. Which who knows?
So this topic came up a lot in our early relationship because we have very conflicting views on this. Especially back then, so especially early on. And this is not just something that we've talked about, but we've also had other people asking us, do I need to talk about this with my future spouse? Will I have to tell them about this? How much do I tell? How do I be honest, but also put my best foot forward kind of thing? This can be a super uncomfortable thing for people to talk about, but we talk about everything.
Everything.
Even if it's like super uncomfortable. We did that, you know, very early on because I want to know a lot. So we had to discuss things and go through things. I wouldn't say we're comfortable because still it's a struggle and still there is a lot of questions. But
Smile, though your heart is aching.
we're gonna walk you through the talk and see where we get to in the end. Stay tuned.
So in a nutshell, this video is basically the question when getting into a relationship or getting to know somebody for the purpose of a relationship. And when I say relationship, I mean a marriage, because if you ain't married,
You're single as a Pringle.
when getting to know somebody for that reason, how much should you share? How much of the past should you bring up into the present? What did we do? Did we make some mistakes along the way? Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. If we did make mistakes, did we discuss them with each other? Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. So how much should you talk about? Spoiler alert, Amara's answer is everything.
Tell me everything.
Amara wants to know how old I was when I first brushed my teeth.
Yes, I do. I don't know that yet.
I know you.
I don't know that yet.
She wants to know if I held anybody's hand in primary school. If so, which hand was it? Was it this hand or that hand?
I'll love it a little less.
Like, I don't even want to touch that hand anymore.
Is that the one that I heard of?
You know, I don't even know who that is.
She's on my bad list.
Okay, so before anybody gets it twisted, this conversation is not just exclusive to past relationships, okay? So we're talking about anything from past relationships, past marriages, to bad habits, maybe some dependencies, maybe some secrets, dark moments in life or some bad memories, situations that might have been a bit difficult to navigate through and maybe they had a lasting impression on you. Like the whole of it.
Yeah.
The whole of it wrapped into one. Whole shebang.
Oh, shebang.
Shebang! Also, as you know, we are both Muslim. High five for them. So we will be referring back to Islam to make a lot of these points. Our moral compass points towards Islam. And we will include a section where we actually talk about how Islam approaches this situation and how it's helped us approach this situation, what we make of all of that. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So why I wanted to know about Sufyan's past, why I had so many questions. Growing up, I was taught from TV, when you walk into a room with your husband and you're walking around or you're walking down the street, you should know if somebody is coming on the radar that has a history with the person you're with. You should know what the situation is. You should go in prepared, you should know, you should be above it all.
So in your theoretical situation, this disclosure would include pictures and everything. Yeah.
Only if you want to be helpful.
Like, it's her!
I have really good Facebook abilities.
Also, how many people does your husband know?
I don't know, you tell me.
Walking down the street, or in a room, in a thing.
No, but imagine you walking down the street and a girl comes up and she's like, oh my god, hi, and she hugs him in front of you or something. And you're just like, who is she, bro?
Unfortunately, I don't hug women. I hug my
Oh,
wife.
whatever.
You ever seen me hug a woman?
No.
That's it.
But-
I'm married now.
My face doesn't lie as well. I want to make sure my face is doing the correct thing. And if I'm caught off guard, my face won't be doing the correct thing. So let me know ahead. Tell me before it. Respect me. And I will respect you too.
Is this a present or are you getting into
I don't know what it is. Second reason that I want to know these things. If I'm looking in your eyes and we're having a loving moment and I'm feeling like I'm the only girl in the world for you right now, I want to know who was ever there before. Who looked into your eyes before? You're looking into my eyes like you just love me more than it. Oh, who else was there? Who else did you look in their eyes like that?
It's feeling a bit personal.
It's getting a bit personal.
What?
So who else's eyes have you looked into before? I should have a right to know just so I know. I don't know why, but just so I know. I don't know why. The third thing is, if we're going on holiday together, if we're skydiving and jumping out of a plane, who else have you done that with before? Give me context of who you went there with.
Wait.
Tell me who you've been on holiday with, where you guys were accommodated, who you did these experiences with, because I'm having these amazing holiday experiences for the first time. I want to know who else you've traveled the world with so that I know how many things are fresh for your eyes and how many things you've seen before.
Nah, I wasn't with them. You're sounding like, do you know what I mean? You don't know that you want powers that you've not got. Let me be your memories.
So I not only wanted this information from you, I was very willing to give it to you, wasn't I?
A little too willing.
I was willing to tell him exactly who I'd spoken to, when I spoke to them, how I spoke to them, telephone, in person, pigeon, anything like that. I was open for discussion with him, and he kept shutting me down.
Of course I shut her down. Right, listen, I did not want to know.
But maybe you do and you don't realize you need to know.
My approach to these situations is not like Amara's approach to these situations.
Knowledge is power. You need to be equipped.
You stay powerful and keep your knowledge to yourself, then innit? I don't want to know who you spoke to, how you spoke. I don't want to know who thought you was nice. Not even blissfully ignorant, yeah? I don't even want to hear that stuff.
You don't want to hear anything.
Listen, you start talking about other guys on the phone. That's the end of that conversation. Why am I on the phone to you and trying to get to know you and you're talking about other guys, bro? What kind of conversation is this? Bye. Now you can go and tell the new guy about this guy that you used to talk to, which was me, so he don't speak to you no more.
I tried to offer him information and he said, listen, if you mention one more guy's name again, that's it. I'm like, well, don't you want to know these things? He's like, no.
No, I don't want to
No,
know.
well, I do.
You got problems. You got problems. She got problems. You're right, man.
I'm okay now.
You're right, darling. So obviously, when you're getting to know somebody, as I did with Amara many moons ago, you speak and you ask a lot of questions. You ask about their thoughts, you ask about their behaviours, you ask about their views and opinions on this and this, and how would you approach that?
Their
and
feelings.
my feelings were buried down
Very
here.
deep.
I have feelings.
Needed a drill.
That's why my chest is so big, because my heart's so soft. It makes sense to me. My tiny little heart.
My vulnerable heart.
So vulnerable. And a lot of questions obviously come up about the past.
Especially if you ask them.
Me and Amara are speaking a lot, obviously, like literally we spoke too much probably. Amara was asking questions, and there were a whole range of questions that Amara would ask me, and basically they got shut down.
So I am around Sufyan a lot. We've been into a lot of places together, we've been around a lot of people together. It is hilarious watching Sufyan answer a question because people want to ask him a lot of questions. People are asking him, oh my god, where'd you go to the gym? Tell me. And he's like, why do you want to know that? Sufyan, it's just the gym. He's like, why do you want to know that? Why would I tell you that?
Why do you want to know what gym I go to? Do you want to turn up at the gym that I'm at?
Yeah, I think they did.
Maybe they did. Yeah, I think they did.
Sufyan is the most evasive question answerer. I feel pressured, and if somebody asks me a question, I feel like, oh, I should give him some form of... No, he won't do it. He won't give in.
I value my privacy.
Yeah, but sometimes it's as simple as like, what did you have for dinner? He's like, why do you need to know that? I'm like...
I just had some food, innit?
He's just super vague. When you're asking Sufyan a question, he might not answer, but it might just be because he doesn't want to answer the question on principle.
It might be because where we grew up, what dad taught us about discretion and being private. Do you know, when you go up into certain places, you're not chatting. You're not chatting like that.
He used to say to me, you sound like a fed. He's like, I'm like, what does that mean? What's a fed?
Asking too many questions. I was cool with getting to know her, and obviously we spoke about loads of things. There were certain questions that I refused to answer.
I'm a natural oversharer.
So me personally, which I'm sure a lot of people who are watching can appreciate, I value my privacy. I genuinely value my privacy. My information isn't just available to everybody, although we make YouTube videos. Okay, so we have a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of people who are close to us, who are kind of getting to know people. Even in my own personal situations, people are asking a lot of questions. They want to know this and they want to know that. And I always ask them the same thing. Why do you want to know? Why do you want to know that? Why do you want to know the answer to that question?
And that question stumped me. That's a hard one to answer.
I think it's a question worth asking. Why do you want to know the answer to that question? What are you going to gain from knowing that question? What can you benefit from knowing the answer to that question?
My curiosity.
So don't mind me getting a little philosophical here.
Sounds like a rap.
You can tell it like a rap in it. Don't mind me getting a little philosophical here. It is human nature to find the flaws in everything. To find the flaws in people, to find the flaws in things and theories. We as humans, we are obsessed with it. We're literally obsessed with it, yeah? So, when you're getting to know someone, people ask all of these questions. Some of the questions are relevant and some of them are not so relevant. In the courting process or in the getting to know process, what you're looking for is red flags, yeah? What are the things here
make me unsafe in this situation.
Yeah.
Alert me to stop proceeding.
Yeah, they want reasons not to progress for their own safety, which I totally understand. So what people tend to do is they tend to ask as many questions as possible. Have you ever dated anybody? Have you ever taken drugs? Have you ever been clubbing? Have you ever stolen? Have you ever been in debt? I'm searching for the flaws in this person. The reason I'm searching for the flaws and trying to go into the past to find the flaws is because in the present, this person is not really presenting me with any flaws. So what I'm going to do is dive into the past, take something from the past, bring it into the present and let it affect the future. I'm going to dive into Amara's past, get something, some insecurity or some problem or some ex or some something, bring it into the present, and then it's going to be on my brain for the rest of my life and it's going to affect all of our future until I can decide to make peace with it. Until I can decide to forgive her for something that she did before she ever knew me. I can decide to make peace with something that she did when she didn't even know me, whether it was good or whether it was bad. So human nature is to find flaws. My dad always used to tell me, son, you see when the police arrest you, what did he say? They say anything you say can and will be held against you. What does that mean, boy? It means shut up. It means shut your mouth. That's what he used to tell me. Don't go out just singing about who you are and I did this and I did that. Any information that you present to people, they have the capacity to use it against you. Yeah. That doesn't mean that people are going to go out and have malice against you. Basically, if I find something out from Amara's past, it's not that I'm going to use it against them and be like, you can't escape this because rare. But it'll be used against her in the sense that I'm now going to have this prejudgment or preconceived notion or something against her. Yeah? I'm going to have these presumptions and be like, okay, well, she's a bit like that. And it's going to affect our relationship.
I think it's that thing as well of if you weren't there in the situation when that thing happened, there's no context. So you're just being told a sentence of what happened. Yes, I did this, or yes, I've drank this. You've not witnessed the context of that situation. You've not witnessed the journey after that situation. So you're basically just assessing it off a line and you're just seeing a snapshot of it and you can't get the image out your brain. It's even more powerful if you weren't there, I think, as well, because you imagine like
Also, you're asking about the past, so maybe the thing that you're asking about that person happened 7 years ago. You didn't want to marry them 7 years ago, you want to marry them now.
You wouldn't have married them 7 years ago?
You wouldn't have married them 7 years ago because you'd have been a kid.
You were a stupid child!
Why did you wait for me? When you're diving into people's past and like looking for flaws and stuff like that, it's not only the bad things that will hurt you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So for instance, let's say there's two versions of me. This Sufyan here has an ex-girlfriend and this Sufyan here has an ex-wife. Yeah? You'll notice whenever we talk about things like this, Amara struggles to hold her face, yeah? I don't know why.
I don't have to have a normal face!
So for this example, obviously bear in mind that we're both Muslim. And then this is why it's not all about flaws. One of these versions of me has an ex-girlfriend. Haram. One of these versions of me has an ex-wife. Halal.
I know you're a really good husband, so you would have been so good to her.
See, I'm fighting a losing battle.
I'm here as an example, okay?
Yeah. Let's say Amara is the same in both of these realities, yeah? So when Amara's getting to know me with the ex-girlfriend, I've been in a 2-year relationship, we lived together and we went on holidays. Amara's response to knowing that is going to be extremely negative and she's going to think, oh, well, you had all of this, you shared everything with this girl, I don't like it. That's the haram situation. She's not judging me on the sin, she's just thinking about the things that I did with the person. Now, when it's a halal situation, as an ex-wife, we've been together for 2 years, went on holidays and we're doing together, it just didn't work
All the joys you must have shared.
She's having exactly the same reaction,
it's true.
regardless of whether it's halal or whether it's
haram. It hurts all the same.
It hurts exactly the same. She's not thinking, oh well, at least it wasn't a girlfriend, because she's not bothered about the sin. She's bothered about the emotion within the thing.
What you've experienced with somebody
She's trying to take the emotion out so she can feel it, so she can do something about it and have this feeling against me. It's human nature, wallahi, it's human nature.
So this like thing where like even if the relationship was halal, even if it was a previous marriage, you still feel something, you still feel some kind of like jealousy or bitterness towards it is a natural, normal thing. And even the highest up women in Islam who were like the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, even they went through this. Like even after the Prophet ﷺ's first wife, Khadija RA, he would like miss her and do things in her service and stuff. And his wife at the time, who was Ayesha RA, she found that really hard. Like, and there's like stories of her feeling like quite jealous and quite like upset at it. I love her! She's so relatable. But even she felt it. She felt like jealous and she felt hurt by it. And she's not doing something wrong by feeling that way. It's a natural thing for her to be feeling. But even Ayesha RA, who's like so high up in our religion, she struggled with that same thing. So it's a very natural thing to feel as a woman. And it's not something to feel ashamed of, just to be aware of it, really. As a woman especially, there's so much that you think about and that you can feel sometimes. And it's important to like sort it as to like what is actually relevant to the situation and what should I actually speak on and what is a feeling that I need to deal with by myself, basically.
Okay. So you get people like Amara in this situation who want to know and want to ask all of the questions. There's also the opposite side of the table. And me and Amara have had a lot of people who have got in touch with us, people close to us as well, who have been through some kind of situation, some personal situations, trauma in the past or difficult situations they've had to navigate through, whether they're ex-marriages, whether they're just like testing times. And moving forward, after they're trying to make peace with themselves, they feel like they don't know how to navigate meeting somebody. When they're meeting somebody, they've had the problem of sharing everything about themselves and kind of hitting a wall. You've got people who are asking the question and you've got somebody else who wants to tell them everything. So maybe I'm in a situation tomorrow and I'm like, listen, I had this in my past and I had this in my past and I had this in my past. And Amara's hearing it and she really likes me, but she's a bit like, ooh.
Dodge.
You know what I mean?
Matrix.
Yeah, literally. So my question in that situation would be like, why do you want to tell people things? Why do you want to share so much?
Yeah.
What is the motive behind you wanting to share? And one of the main problems with sharing all of the mistakes, I guess, or parts of your past can be telling all of your mistakes doesn't allow you to grow.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sharing all of your mistakes and all the dark parts of your past doesn't give you an opportunity to progress to the next round, so to speak. Yeah. So let me give you an example. I've got an interview. Filled an application form, nice. It's the interview. Amara's interviewing me. I really want to do this job. Yeah. Now, me, my personal life, I'm a head teacher. So let's say that I was going to go for the head teacher job, and Amara's interviewing me, and she's like, "Oh, so tell me why you're good for the job." Yeah.
Tell me why you're good for the job.
It's a bit flirty, isn't it?
You're looking very fine. Tell me a bit about yourself.
In my old job, I was late quite often, every day. Sometimes I used to sign in on time, but I was always late. I used to call in sick, and I was never actually sick. I just wanted days off.
Very honest.
And at the works too, I actually got off with one of the co-workers.
Oh dear.
Astaghfirullah. I know that's a haram example, but in this job, I'm just going to do better. I promise you, yeah, but now I've got what it takes. How are you going to respond to me in that interview?
Not well.
Basically, I'm not going to get the job. If you went to an interview and told me you used to be late all the time, you used to date one of your co-workers, you used to take sick days off and call in sick, or just whatever it was, yeah, you are not going to get the job. It's just a fact. You're not going to get the job. Now, do you think people in positions of seniority and people with big jobs have been late in their previous job?
Yeah.
Of course they've been late.
Definitely.
Do you think when people were young that they called in sick when they weren't sick? 100%. I'm telling you, yeah, unless, well, I don't know. If you're out there and you're just a workman, then of course they did. But presenting that information in your job interview doesn't get you the job. That's just a fact of the matter. I mean, this is a little analogy, but that's just an example of how sharing things about your past doesn't let you progress past the next stage. It's very similar in relationships as well. Sharing certain things during certain periods, depending on what the context is, just doesn't allow you to progress into the next phase.
What helped me as well think about what I need to ask and what I don't need to ask is, for example, Sufyan treats me like perfectly, mashallah, like I can't complain. If the person's treating you perfectly and you can't complain and there's nothing unhealthy going on and there's no traits that you're seeing that are damaging or creating a bad dynamic, why pry into things that could only bring negativity? If you're already super happy and everything, all that can come from dredging the past is negativity, isn't it? Like nothing positive can really come from talking about past things, you know what I mean? The other thing I think as well is sometimes if you hold too much against somebody or you know too many mistakes a person's made and the person feels heavy with it or like they can't be their best self in front of you, it affects their confidence in the relationship and them getting to feel like they are a great person. Everybody just wants to feel like they're a great person.
I think that's a good point. I used to say to people when I was a little younger, yeah, the thing about the club or the thing about going on holiday or the thing about these things, yeah, let's say you go on holiday and you turn up in this country and nobody in that country knows you. You're there for a week as well, so you can be as rich as you want for that week. All they know is that you're in this country and you look good.
I never thought about that.
The way that you can carry yourself on
Yeah,
holiday.
you get to be who you are and they don't know anything
because
else.
everyone receiving you receives as, oh look, you're here in this country. So you're received as the person that you would like to be. However you present yourself in that moment is who you are.
Yeah, I feel like why don't you want to be that person for your spouse? Why do you not want your spouse to get to feel like they can be their best in front of you and be confidently like their best version of themselves without carrying all this stuff? It affects their happiness as well. They don't feel like the happy version of themselves if they're feeling like, oh my god, I've got all these prejudgments on me.
If anybody's got any brothers or sisters or anything like that, sometimes you've got some really good advice, but based on the fact that your sisters or your brothers or your friends, they know you and they know your past, they won't receive the advice from you. But somebody else in a totally separate situation,
give them the same advice, but they just don't know the past of that person.
Yeah, but they're like, oh my gosh, they give so much good advice. I want to receive it from this person because with that person, I'm just taking them as the advice person as what they are. I don't know about their past. Like, you used to throw his toys out and you had a tantrum. Maybe you tried to give your brother advice or your mum advice and they're like,
they can't take it from you because they know too much about everything that's led up to you becoming this person. They're like, I can't respect that.
And it's happened to me. I know it's happened to Amara as well. Yeah.
Just go on holiday, hit the clubs.
Before I give the example, just let me apologise in advance if anything I say strikes a chord with anybody inside and it brings up any trauma or you can relate to that situation. I'm not meaning to be insensitive. It's just that sometimes in order to put a point across, you have to give an extreme example because the principle stays the same. So I apologise if I offend anyone with any of my examples. Please forgive me. Let's say, for example, I'm 20 years old and I get married. I experienced some trauma when I was young. Maybe it was some abuse, maybe it was some emotional abuse, neglect, something like that, yeah? Basically, I got married to this girl, yeah? I've been married for 10 years and I've married from 20 until 30. At 30 years old, we get divorced. Now, we get divorced because we actually had a kind of toxic relationship. It ended up being pretty toxic. Maybe it was an argument that got out of hand. Maybe she was toxic and she was throwing some things at me, something, and I hit her. Maybe I was just a bit emotionally abusive or a bit controlling. Whatever the case may be, we've got divorced. I got married as a kid, I'm 20, and then I divorced when I was 30. I made some mistakes in the relationship. She made mistakes, I made mistakes. I've been single now for 10 years. I'm now 40. And I've reflected on the things that I did wrong, and I know why I did them wrong, and I'm not like that anymore. Now, every single person within themselves, if they're being honest, especially people who are mature, knows whether they're going to do something again. Everyone's capable of everything, but everybody's in control of their own emotions. I'm in control of what I do. I'm in control of how I behave, In this situation, I know that I'm never going to emotionally abuse anyone again. I'm never going to physically strike a woman, regardless of what the situation thinks. I'll just leave. So now, I'm 40 years old. I've made my peace with my past. I prayed to Allah and asked him to forgive me. I'm not like that anymore. Amara's the new woman, yeah? I'm 40. We're going on a date. So Amara speaks to me and she says, well, you've been married before? Yes, I've been married before. What went wrong? Things just didn't really work out, you know? What happened? Well, I was a bit emotionally abusive. I actually hit my wife and I was a bit controlling.
No shocks.
At this point, yeah, is this going to progress?
No.
But I've made my peace with it though.
You just can't take the image out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a very, very, very vivid
And the
image.
calmer I say it, the worse it sounds. It does sound bad, innit? In this situation, now, I've just been a bit honest about my past. I've made my peace with my past and I'm not like that anymore. But I was just telling you something that happened in the past. And I'm 100% not like that anymore. Now, this situation cannot progress. So the only way in this situation in which Amara's going to choose to be with me or accept whatever happened and just move forward, firstly, she's just super forgiving. She doesn't care about anything like that. She forgives and she moves forward, which in this situation could be a bit naive. Secondly, she's got problems herself. She came from a similar situation. Maybe she's been in a similar situation. Maybe she made mistakes herself and she's thinking, okay, well, I understand, or slim pickings, you know, that he's just better than the rest of them. Or thirdly, the person accepts the situation and thinks, that was a flag that, but I'll take it, but I'm going to be aware of this. And now I'm kind of down here and Amara's up there. So we're entering the dynamics all messed up from the jump. I agree that people should know what they're getting into. But if you're not getting into that situation, then there's nothing to know. So the question is, the guy's had a past and the guy's been in a situation. Does he deserve another chance at love? Maybe he cheated, so I cheated on my wife.
You think they're going to cheat again?
Yeah,
They cheated on the wife once.
You see him speaking to the neighbour once and you're thinking,
Has he got an itch again?
it's true though, isn't it? If that person doesn't have that in them now, is it beneficial for them to tell you? And if I do, and I keep hitting the wall again and again and again because I can't pass go by telling that information, is it that I don't deserve a chance at love again?
No.
Or a chance at happiness again?
No.
I've made my peace with myself, and the way that I'm choosing to move forward is by just telling everybody the truth about myself. Why can't I make progress? I've made my peace with it.
All they see is the image in the mind of you doing that thing, and they don't see any of the journey
Whatever
you've
that
had
is.
since. They don't see any of the repentance, any of the pain you've gone through, any of the self-worth. They just see the image of that, and that's you.
And it's true because I presented that image.
I gave you a book full of them.
Like, okay, well, cross all of your journey and all of your everything because you said one thing, it's cross. And what do you expect somebody to do? Of course they're going to cross you off at that point, unless you're one of these categories.
Yeah.
You'll see later on that there are exceptions to each of these circumstances. There are just some things that you just have to disclose regardless of whatever.
We're not saying hide everything.
Yeah, we're not
basically,
saying that.
But just be very mindful of the picture that you're presenting to somebody when they're first getting to know you, and that's the only picture they're going to have of you, really.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes in order to like feel close to the person you're getting to know, like when I was trying to get close to you and getting to know you, I wanted to know everything about your past because I felt like that will make us very familiar with each other. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, you're just seeing a new version, a completely new person to you, and you want to like find them tangible, you know, like feel like you can bond with them and stuff.
And it is a way that you get to know people.
I like you so much that it should match how much I know about you. These deep feelings need to match a deep history I know about you. Once you've exhausted like what did you have for breakfast today and the things that are in the present, you want to go back. So as Sufyan said like a bunch of times, if you ain't married,
You're single. You know it by now.
so if you weren't married, you having a relationship will have been a sin in Islam. If that's the focus of what you're asking the person about, you're basically only asking them to share their sins, and that gets very tricky.
So in Islam, like any other religion, you have good deeds and bad deeds, sins and reward. Everyone knows what a sin is. In Islam, there are some things which fall under the category of sin. There's loads of things that fall in the category of sin, including past relationships, including drug use, gambling, and things like that, yeah. We have the concept of the Day of Judgment. The one thing that's certain in life is death. We're all gonna die. Muslims believe that we'll be raised up on the Day of Judgment. There's gonna be this kind of judging process, which is the judgment, and we're going to have to basically watch through our lives, so to speak. We're gonna have to watch through everything. We're gonna have to relive every single thing that happened in our lives, right?
That's the one time where I don't want to know about your past because I'm gonna be too worried about my own.
We're talking about every single thing that we've ever done, all of the horrible things, all of the weird things, embarrassing things, just everything. There are some things, yeah, we've all got them, which we probably don't want anybody to see. We are encouraging Islam to make dua, pray to Allah, repent, so that when these sins are being played back to us, there's a dua that it's as though Allah puts a curtain around us, and when we're played back, it's played in private instead of in front of everybody. You can shield your sins and kind of keep it between you and Allah, yeah, between you and God. So there's a prayer specifically for that. Now, in Islam, there's also the concept Allah can forgive you. God can forgive you for all of your sins. It's not only can He forgive you, but He can take all of your negative sins and turn them into good ones. He can take all of your bad things and make them into good deeds.
Oh, I'd like that.
That's the mercy of God. You can wipe them clear, which is good enough, but you can also take them all and turn them into good. Some people will be living life at that point. My point is, there are some people who have sinned or have past experiences or past things which they are praying and repenting to Allah or God for. You're talking about people who are on their knees crying to God, to forgive them, innit? Praying that He just please forgive them, just please wipe them clear of me, just please shield me, protect me, please don't let these things interfere with my life, please just make it on the Day of Judgment that I'll be okay. People are praying and pleading to God to forgive them out of shame, out of fear, out of embarrassment, out of regret, out of all of these things. These are things that you don't even want God to know. Please, I wish God didn't even know, but you know that God knows because God sees everything. So the thing that you don't want God to know, you wish God didn't know, and that you want to delete from yourself, you meet somebody, you get into a situation, that they ask you something about your past. This person that I'm getting to know isn't God. They don't have the same capacity or capability to just say, boom, and it's done.
To not feel any kind of way about it.
Basically, they don't have a right to know. Genuinely, just my open, honest opinion, I feel like they don't have a right to know. You don't have a right to pry into somebody's past. Like, you don't have a right anyway, but especially someone who wants forgiveness, doesn't want to delve back and be that person, or these things were so heavy for them and I'm here now, but because we're getting to know each other and I'm your wife, you need to tell me. And I don't think that's fair. Not only am I going to disclose it to you, but you're going to judge me on it for the rest of my life. And you're not going to be able to release it and let go of it emotionally. Some people have some really dark things that happen to them. I've got to look at you and know that you know that thing about me. Sometimes that's a bit too much for people to deal with. So I know that's a bit heavy, but in Islam, we're praying to be forgiven. I pray for Allah to forgive me for everything. Every day I pray for Allah to forgive me. I pray for God to please just wipe my sins. There are some people in life who go through life saying, oh, well, I'm happy that I did rare, because if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be here. If I didn't do this, then I wouldn't be the man that I am today. I want all of that, bro. I don't care about any of that. I want to go to heaven. I don't want the sins. I pray that Allah forgives me and forgives everybody for all the sins I committed and just showers His mercy upon us. But in my personal situation, and I know a lot of other people share this thing, who are you? You get me? I'm not saying this to my wife in a way, but who are you? Who are you that I just met you and you need to ask something and I need to disclose it? You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what my relationship is with God or my relationship with myself. So I just feel like in that situation, that's something that people need to bear in mind. We are Muslims at the end of the day, and a lot of people are God-fearing, a lot of people are God-conscious. As Muslims, that's our viewpoint, that's our standpoint. So when disclosing that situation or that information to somebody, it's something that you should bear in mind.
I think that's something really beautiful about like God as well, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. God is not like emotional with you in a negative way where He's gonna hold something against you that you have repented for. Like, you know, people sometimes, no matter how hard you want to let something go, especially between spouses, no matter how hard you want to be able to forgive them, it's hurt you too much and you've got this thing.
People struggle to let go.
Yeah, you can forgive with your words, but inside you still got a bit of thing. But there's not that with God in it. God just literally forgives and lets go. Such a different relationship, isn't it? We can't know each other's thoughts as well. Like, God knows our thoughts. We only see each other's actions. So then telling everybody all your thoughts, that's something that they're not even naturally gifted to be able to know, and there's a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason. So as with everything, there are exceptions to every rule. I don't want you to think that I'm just saying to people, listen, you need to keep all the business to yourself and just go in and just blag people's heads. You can't lie to people, and you can't blag people's head. I don't tell lies. I'm not trying to lie. A lot of my family members, we don't tell lies, and that's part of the reason why if we don't want to speak about something, we don't speak about something. So we're not encouraging anyone to lie. We're not encouraging anyone to be deceitful. Nor nor are we encouraging anybody to not speak about things.
Especially if it affects the person's present.
So one of the exceptions to this rule is, it is, in my opinion, almost compulsory, obligatory, for you to disclose anything to your wife or your husband which is going to affect your present. If I've got a kid, if I've got a problem, if I've got an addiction, if I've got debt, some kind of disease or sexually transmitted disease, anything like this, certain situations or circumstances which are going to affect the relationship that I'm getting into, you have to disclose those things.
Have to.
It's ridiculous not to disclose those things. That's not acceptable. It's immoral.
In Islam, it's wrong to be bringing badness to the person that you're marrying anyway. Like, you have to, make the person very aware of anything that's going to bring them harm.
Second point, you need to involve people in your process. To be fair, a lot of women are vulnerable and a lot of guys out here are just crooks, innit? A lot of people, obviously, especially young people get into relationships, cannot see red flags. And this is why I think it's important to involve your family, to involve some elders, to involve some people who aren't the same age group as you.
And don't have love eyes.
Yeah, literally don't have love eyes, to make an assessment on these people. When you involve your friends and your family and other people in this getting to know process, you protect yourself even more. Third thing, in Islam, if you know that the person that somebody's trying to marry has like a debt or like anger issues, is violent, maybe has a kid or something like that, you are allowed as a community and a neighbour to inform the person that's trying to marry them. You're allowed to do that. That's halal for you to do. That's not gossiping, that's not spreading rumours, being a chit chat or whatever. You're allowed to inform the person or the family, this is who you're getting in a situation with, Now there's a difference between letting somebody know the situation they're getting into, or let's say like somebody knows something about Amara from her past and somebody comes into me while we're in a relationship and says, oh, do you know what? That's devilish. That's pouring doubt into something. There's a difference between those two things. One of them is devilish and one of them is kind of like a good thing to do.
So in my experience of marriage so far, I've learned two things about myself. One, I care about Sufyan way more than before I was married to him. I feel way more attached to him, and I feel like our boundaries have like dropped a lot with each other. With that, lines can get blurry. The boundaries drop so much with each other that you kind of feel like you're like all access to each other. And while that is true in a lot of ways, lines can get blurred between what is your business and what is not your business. And not because he's like, oh my god, it's not your business. But I'm just saying in terms of respecting a person, lines can get blurred because they're so close to you and they're so accessible to you all the time. Because it feels like, oh my god, I love this person, I feel like I've known them my whole life, they're so familiar to me. You have to remember, you haven't known them their whole life. You can't claim a past version of themselves that they're not today. You know them now and you're with them now, but who they were in the past, you didn't know that person, and you can't have any ownership over that just because you're married to them now. That's nothing to do with you. And that is so hard to accept sometimes because they feel like, oh my god, they're mine though. But you have to be real with it. They didn't know you at that point and you didn't know them. And just like Sufyan said before, you probably wouldn't have married that version of them. So how can you have any judgment over who they were then? The second thing that I found with myself was when I was entering into marriage, I was very much about protecting myself. So when I was like looking for the red flags and looking for what could go wrong and looking for the hints of things, that was all to protect myself. And especially like seeing divorce and stuff around me, I want to make sure I've got the best chance of things by knowing what the problems could be early on. What changed with me was that falling in love with Sufyan, the protection that I felt for myself wasn't just for myself anymore. The protection extended to him. I want to protect my heart, but I want to protect his heart too. Aww. When you're with somebody for a long time, you can stop feeling like, oh my god, I need to defend myself all the time. You're like, I actually don't want that person to get hurt either. Sometimes with your questions and stuff, you've got to think about how much of my prying is going to damage the person that I love. Is the thing that I want to ask going to hurt them? Is it going to hurt me to know what the answer is going to be? And is it going to damage this marriage and this relationship that we have together? And I think growing up, I thought that a healthy marriage is one that can take honesty. Like, I can throw anything at you and we can talk about it and we can work through it. But I think that's changed for me now. Marriage is this thing, and over time it's like going up, and it's like this orb of light and magicness, and it's like going up, rising over time. If you're throwing rocks at it early on, you're just like dragging it down basically. You've got to let it like rise and grow and keep it protected. You don't know the damage that you can do early on by not letting the person be their best selves, or not letting the person forget the mistakes that they've had, or making the person relive traumas, things that they don't want to experience again. It's not about withstanding any kind of rough honesty you can give. It's about protecting it and preserving it and only feeding it things that are good for it. So really think about, before you ask questions, is it going to be good for him? Is it going to be good for me? And is it going to be good for our marriage to know this information? Because if it's only going to bring negativity, you're only bringing more tests into things where they don't need to be.
Okay, so just to conclude, this video was just about giving people an insight into how we've approached this situation. We just wanted people to be aware of this point of view. So 2 points in this video: you don't have to spill everything about yourself to people. personal. There is no obligation to share things about yourself which you don't want to share about yourself. Just because somebody asks a question doesn't mean you have to answer the question. And the second thing, you don't have to ask the questions in a relationship. Yeah? You don't have to pry and ask everybody everything about their past, or everything about their sins, or everything about their secrets in order to secure a bond with that person. There are other means and there are other ways and other methods to kind of see flags and see things about people. And there are other ways to bond and get to know people as well. So you don't actually have to ask and pry if you don't want to. If you do want to, you still don't have to. Yeah?
I felt like to be a good girl and to be like an honest girl, I should tell everything, and otherwise I'm being like deceitful or something, or I'm being a fraud. Just know that that's not true. You can still be a good person. You know, concealing your own sins is not a bad thing at all. So don't feel like you're a fraud or you're not a good person. You're still a good person by having that privacy barrier for yourself.
A wise man once said nothing at all. Thanks, Dad. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.
If you like this video, this deep discussion, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos like this and lighter topics, please hit subscribe. Please turn your notifications on so that you know when we upload a video.
Let us know what you think of this conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people will agree and some people will disagree. Just air your thoughts and we can have a good discussion in the comment section. It would be really interesting to know what you think of it, how you've approached your situation. If you did share, did it have a detrimental effect on your relationship or was it beneficial? Thank you for watching. My name is Sufyan.
My name's Amar.
We are the X's and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Don't ask too many questions.